Welcome to Unraveled Mind. My name is Antonio and I'm here with you today to talk to you about balance and change. Stay tuned and let's play. Before I jump right into the balance and change concepts that I want to talk about, I would just like to for those of you that don't know me, to tell you a little bit about my story and what happened in my life. So through my example, we can maybe understand a little bit better these concepts of balance and change. And I was always, since I was a kid, I was never really sure what I wanted to do with my life. So I was more or less just going with the flow. I was always very good at school, so it was not a big problem. I just didn't have a very strong passion towards one thing or the other maybe than video games. I guess millennials are probably going to be able to resonate with me there. But so I was always just going with the flow, and the educational system provides this framework where you have 1 year. After that year, you just goes to the next year, and so you are just going through the school system. You don't need to think too much. So I was just going through that system without really knowing what I wanted to do. And the first time I really had to think about it a little bit more was when I went to the university, because then I had to really decide what do I want to study, what do I want to major on. And at the time I was really undecided, but I was into robots. Robots are cool. I like mathematics, I liked physics. I asked a few people and they told me, if you like maths, physics and you like computers, just go to electrical engineering and you get a little bit of everything. And that's what I did. So I studied electrical engineering and computer science. And I have a master's degrees there. And even then I was just going through the university life. I was never super passionate about any of the components. Of course, there were things I liked a little bit more. Of course, I like robotics, I love software. There was things I didn't like as much, like telecommunications and all the electrical stuff, which is interesting because I was in electrical engineering. But I just went through my master's. I finished it, and even after finishing, I was in no hurry. I was really not excited about the prospect of finding a job. So I just decided, let's just take some time off, and I went 3 months to Japan, where it was interesting because I went completely alone to a country where I spoke a little bit of Japanese, and I still speak a little bit of Japanese, but it was at the basic level, so it was an interesting adaptation to live in Tokyo for 3 months, learning Japanese as I go. And and of course, I'm sure many of you, I punched my microphone. But I was just saying that I'm sure many of you can relate after finishing university, this sort of, now I have to find a job, and then this is what I'm gonna be doing for the rest of my life. This is the last moment of opportunity, of freedom that I have, and I felt that a lot, so that's why I went. So I stayed 3 months in Japan, but eventually you had to come back and you had to start making a living. So I was also still not completely sure what I wanted to do. So in order to buy myself some time to think, I just went back to the university and got a research position, just continuing working on the work I did for my master's thesis. And that stayed there. I was getting some money. It was never something I considered doing long term. I was never interested in pursuing the academic route, so continuing to do a PhD and staying in this university environment. That was never my goal. So I knew this was not a permanent position, but I still wasn't completely sure what I really wanted to do. Eventually, I really started feeling that I needed a change, otherwise things would not happen. So I just decided, let's just leave this position at the university and then put myself in a position where I have to find something else. Otherwise, I cannot stay unemployed. So that's what I did. I struggled then for a period because the job search process can be quite draining, because you expose yourself to a lot of judgment, because when you apply to a company, especially if you are the one doing the application and they are not the ones looking for you, you are subjecting yourself to the judgment of the recruiter. We need you, so what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and that can be very draining, and you deal with a lot of rejection until someone actually accepts you. So it's very draining, and of course then there's the pressure from society and maybe from your family that just take something, you can always change, but just take something. And I felt that pressure a lot, but I was not really wanting to compromise. So I also, fortunately, I had the financial situation that allowed me to take a few more months to search, and eventually I did find a great job in Germany, and I was working for a great company, and I was actually working for the European Space Agency, not directly there, but working for a great company that was doing contracting work in the space industry. And I actually worked on the Bepi Colombo mission from the European Space Agency, and that was a great time. I will, for those of you who might not believe it, I will show some pictures now on the screen of me in the mission control room, and me with the team from the launch. And it was amazing. I remember when I got this job, of course it was fantastic. I wanted to go abroad. Of course it was much better paid than the job offers I had in Portugal, because I'm originally Portuguese. So working in Germany, of course, there was a greater financial return. And I remember being on the plane when I was flying from Portugal to Germany to start working there. I remember being there and just having this sense of peace and contentment as I figured out life. I have life figured out. I know that things will now go well. I found the balance that I wanted. Now I got my little independence that I was looking for. I got a great job as a software engineer. That was what I was looking for. So I had found this balance, and now I was excited to go into this new stage in my life. And it was great. I cannot say it was easy. It was, of course, challenging. The space industry demands that you keep on your toes, but it was very interesting. It was very rewarding, and I really enjoyed this period. But the thing is, even though I had this feeling that everything was just right, was just the pieces had all fitted into where they should, and my life was now aligned, and I was feeling very deep fulfillment and satisfaction and achievement at that point. As the time passed, and I stayed there for a little bit over 2 years. As the time passed, I started thinking, I started getting familiar, I started getting used to that position, so that sense of contentment and satisfaction started to slowly erode, and now, naturally, I just started asking questions such as, what do I want to do now? What's my life gonna be going forward? Do I stay here? Do I want to do something else? Is this where I want to be? Why am I in this position right now? And I started asking all these questions, and eventually that led me down a path where I was not confident that that's the place where I wanted to be, working as a software engineer. And at that point I didn't know what I wanted. I just was not confident that what I had was what I wanted. So I just decided to take a leap of faith, and I quit my job, my great job that I had there, and I still have a lot of friends in my old company. And and I just took some time to figure out, what do I want to do with my life? What is the question I was asking at the time is, if I can just find what my purpose is, then everything is going to be nice and peachy, because you in the personal development and in the self-help industry, you read a lot about purpose, and after you find your purpose, you're always motivated, you always wake up excited, and everything will be perfect. And the thing is, I thought I had it. When I was in that plane going from Portugal to Germany, I thought I had it. And the interesting thing is, that changed. That thing where I thought, now I found my purpose, now everything is as it should, all the pieces are in their correct positions. That eventually changed, not because the positions moved or the pieces moved, but because where I wanted those pieces moved. So it was not that my life changed and therefore I needed to readapt, is that I changed, and the life that I had built that worked very well when I was 2 years earlier when I went into that company. It was the exact life that I wanted at that time, but 2 years later I changed, and therefore that was no longer the life that I was super excited to be living. And I just brought this topic because I think it ties very well with what I wanted to say about balance and changes, because a lot of us have this idea of, we just need to adjust the things in our lives. If I just earn a certain amount of money, if I just have the relationship that I want, if I align all these pieces in my life to exactly where I want to. And the way that I picture this in my mind is, those, for people that do music or know a little bit, there's this huge, I don't even know what to call it, but these boards where you can, with lots of levers, where you can just adjust filters and a lot of things. I will put a picture just in case I'm not making myself so clear, but this is how I imagine. And what people, or this idea that most of us have, and even society gives us, is we just have to find the perfect position for all these pieces so that we will be where we want. And after that, things will flow effortlessly forever. And there's this thing with the fairy tales, and then they are happy ever after. And the reality is, you can get to this point. I got to this point when I was in that plane going from Portugal to Germany. The thing is, you are gonna change. Therefore, you are going to have to continue to change these balance, these little filters, these little levers. You are always going to be continuously changing them and adjusting them to accompany the growth and the change that you are going through. And this is annoying because most of us, we just want to get to a position where we are willing to work hard, knowing that we'll get to a point where then things will be easy. But what I'm telling you is, you will never get to a point when things are completely easy, because you always have to continue change, and you always have to continue to adapt. And if you talk to anyone who you admire or that has acquired some success for themselves, I'm sure they will tell you the same thing. They never see themselves as a final product. They are always an ongoing product, a work in progress. Sorry. And that's how I want you to see yourself. And that's why I wanted to talk about this idea of balance and change. Change because there's this common phrase that we often hear, that the only constant is change. And I know it's a paradox, because if the only constant is change, that can also change. But not going deeper there. This is something that I truly believe, because things are never static. Because when things are static, they stop growing. And an inherent desire that we have as human beings is to continue to grow as human beings. And one of the reasons why after we finish school, we stop growing, because we are not in this environment that triggers that growth in us by teaching us a lot of things. But then we go to that first job, and in that first job we have a lot of catching up. But after a couple of years on that job, we get to that point where things come easier, because now we are better at what we do. But then we are no longer growing as we were in the past. And I truly believe that some part of every human being desires to keep growing. And that was that part that was unsatisfied when I decided to quit the job that I had working in the space industry, and just to start something new. And just ask yourself whether this is true for you. did you already, at certain point in your life, also felt like me, where you felt like everything was aligned, everything was perfect, and everything was going to be perfect now until the end of times? Perhaps you have, and if you have, that's great, because many people don't even get to feel this in their lives. So if you have one experience where you felt this, it's great. But realize that even if the things that you had at that time didn't change, they are no longer the things that you necessarily really crave at this moment. So it's not that you have to do completely 180 like I did and completely rediscover yourself and change complete your career and your future. You don't have to do all of this. But it's important to not neglect these levers that you have. And another important distinction about this idea of balance is that no one can tell you how to do this for yourself, because living life, a good analogy that I think about is riding a bicycle. And riding a bicycle, you can read a book, you can read 1,000 books about riding a bicycle, and you can be a master on the theory of riding a bicycle. But until you actually get on that bicycle, it's going to be very difficult. And even if you think instead of a bicycle, think of a tricycle, of unicycle, these ones with just one wheel, because those require even more balance, which is the thing I want to emphasize here. And the thing is, when you are in that unicycle, whether you go left or right depends on how you are and how's the balance and what exactly is the moment you need. Because if I tell you, oh, you're going too much to the left, go right, and then you go too much to the right, then I know, now you go left. And the balance is something that you have to feel for yourselves and you have to find yourselves, because no one looking externally can objectively say with certainty that you should be doing this or this. They can have opinions, and you should be, and a wise person will listen to the opinions of others. But this balance is something that you inherently have to feel for yourself, just like riding a bicycle. You can have the victor of the Tour de France, so a very good cyclist, and he can look at you cycle. But he cannot tell you whether you should lean a little bit more to the right, to the left. He can give you small adjustments, but you have to feel that yourself. And that's something that you constantly have to do. That's something that you constantly have to do in your life. And just practically, just before I finish, one good idea to really do this, that in the coaching industry we use a lot, and I know that many of you also in the self-help books, they also talk about this, is really find or distill your life into areas that are important to you, be it family, be it career and money, be it health, be it relationships. You come up with the areas of your life that are important, and then rate yourself. How satisfied I am in this area, and why. And if you are at a 10 in everything, great, but remember, what does a 11 or a 12 look like? Because that 10, the problem with this, it's another way to see it, is when you reach a 10, so you want to, let's just take a very practical example. You want to make $1 million, for example. As soon as you get to that $1 million, you get 1 or 2 days of satisfaction. And then you are going to inevitably ask, what now? And that is going to change the scale. And now having $1 million maybe just feels like an 8. And now a 10 is to have $2 million. And this is just when it comes to money. It can be when it comes to a relationship. Maybe you just want to having a partner, that's a 10 for you. And then you have a partner. And then you want to, but I want to have a deeper connection. I want this relationship to be even more loving, even more aligned with who I am. And then, because as you reach a goal, there's always, you change in the process. Because another distinction that's very important is that a goal is not something that you want to have. A goal should be aligned, should be directing who you want to become. And all the goals that you have should be oriented towards becoming something instead of becoming someone instead of having something. And that ties very well with what I was saying, because as you become something else, as you become something greater, you are going to change. And as you change, then this balance needs to be readjusted. And what was super difficult or was super exciting when you were at level 1, maybe when you get to level 5, that's just the default. But now you need to keep going and changing in some other way. You have to continue having a direction to your life, because in the end, that's the thing. If you just stop playing with these levers in your music box, you are just gonna stop directing your life in a sense, and you're just gonna stop consciously growing in these areas. And the changing you is gonna notice this. Then but this area is no longer aligned with what I want right now, because I changed. I'm no longer the person I was 2 years ago. And this is really what I wanted to. I don't want this video to be as long as my past one, so I think I will end it. I will end here. I hope this was useful. Just a quick summary and really practically is, when you set yourself a goal, think about who you want to become instead of what you want to have. Realize that as you change and as you become something different than you are right now, or what you were 2 years ago, what you value, your priorities, what you want is also going to change. And therefore, the things that you had in your life, that perfect balance that you had found for your life, or you are still finding, that works well for you right now or worked well for you 2 years ago, is gonna start not to work perfectly or as well as you continue to change. So you need to also continue to readjust this balance. You need to continuously look at the different areas of your life that are important to you. You have to continuously reevaluate what you want, and then you will continue to create a life and create the balance that works for you as you change. But it's never an end goal, it's always a work in progress. With that, I once again just would like to ask you to like this video, to subscribe. There's more videos coming. Of course, now I finished the Life Mastery series, but there's many more videos to come. If you find value in the things that I talk about, if you resonate, please also share it with someone, share with a friend. Just help me spread this message, because what I truly want is to help reach more people so that they can hear these messages that from my heart I truly hope are beneficial, and maybe they provide a new distinction, maybe they provide a new insight, and that can be very helpful, because that can be the trigger for someone to really start making changes that they know they want, but they wouldn't otherwise in their lives. So if you find value, please do me the favor of helping me by liking this video, by subscribing, and please share it with someone that you think could appreciate these ideas. And with that, I just thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.